Hey everybody. So, we are still taking a look and discussing what's going on in the book of Ruth. And this is still, I want to discuss more with you about the chapter 3 events that took place while Ruth is actually approaching Boaz and approaching him to be the kinsman redeemer. So, in these events, um, Boaz is on the thrashing floor. He's watching over the wheat, just as a dutiful leader does. He got his hands dirty and he's actually laying on the floor to watch and maintain his crops to make certain that his wealth is maintained. So he also did the work. So he had people employed under him, but he also was willing to get dirty, down and dirty, and do the work himself. So we have Ruth, who, because of Naomi, her mother in law, let her know, you know what, I think you should go ahead and approach him to be the kinsman redeemer. And the kinsman redeemer, in this, of course, respect, is where this young man can preserve the inheritance of a family member and buy the rights of that family member's property and belongings if he's in a wealthy position. And this is what Naomi wanted Ruth to do. So she did that. And the act she had to take was she went, it was dark, it was night. She went to Boaz in his sleeping form. She uncovered his feet. So, of course, when she uncovered his feet, that woke him up. And, of course, started him like, hold on, who is this? So she approached him in, a humble fashion because she was vulnerable. It's nighttime. And just think, if he was a man of a different kind of character, he could have taken advantage of her in this instance, but he did not. And what she then asks him is for protection. And this protection that she asked for, and to cover me with your shawl, this is actually a Jewish tradition that we have here of a husband. What he normally does when they commit to one another, he covers her with his prayer shawl. So the blanket that he had, and she asked him to be the kinsman redeemer for her and Naomi, was to cover them. And that was a covering and sign of protection. And Boaz took on that responsibility. So, what is interesting about her asking for protection and how she achieved it, because I want to take you back to Tamar. And this is going to bring us back to Genesis, okay? But before I discuss Tamar's actions and behavior, let's finish up with Ruth, because what she did when she did this with Boaz, he said, make certain that no one knows that this event took place. He didn't want it getting out so that people could gossip and spread rumors saying that they could have possibly done the wrong things, because it's very easy to say and make claims when you are not necessarily there in that situation, but you can speculate, make inferences and things when you don't even know what took place and what transpired. But Boaz wanted to make certain that she maintained the positive character that she had and reputation that she had by saying, hey, don't tell anybody that you came to me on the thrashing floor and approached me in this manner. So he wanted to maintain that conversation that they had, because they only shared a conversation. There was no sort of sleeping together or sleeping around, which could have happened. He could have told her, he could have forced himself on her. He didn't do that. So Boaz in next chapter, we'll discuss that later in another video. But I want to bring you back to Tamar. So Tamar was a young lady who ended up marrying one of the young men of Judah. So Judah, so Judah, he was the brother of, who was that? I believe it was Jacob. Okay. So was it Jacob? Yes. So remember, let me see, hold on. I want to make certain I'm getting this right. No, Joshua. So remember, Joshua was sold by his brothers because they were jealous of his brother in Genesis. And there must have been some sort of strife, because when they went to the father, of course, the father is mourning. Judah got upset at the amount of mourning that the father had, but he also was saddened by what took place with his brothers, even though he continued to allow that to happen to his brother without letting the father know, like, hey, dad, we actually sold our brother because we were jealous of him. So Judah went off and he married a woman. He marries this woman and he bears 3 sons. That first son, his name was So his firstborn son ends up being married to Tamar. That son did evil within the sight of God. And remember in the Old Testament, when you did something evil in the sight of God, God, he wasn't playing. He took you out the game. Okay. So that first son did that. So Judah then allowed Tamar to marry his second son. That son was given the responsibility of fulfilling Levirate law. And Levirate law was allowing a brother within that family to marry a widow as long as that widow had not bore a son to that first brother. And that was not the case. Her husband ended up dying. So now we have the second son fulfilling the rights and duties of his brother who preceded him in order to maintain the family line and inheritance and property that is supposed to go to that firstborn son. So what ends up happening with this brother, and that's Onan, so Onan. This young man, he was like, these kids ain't gonna be mine. And he did not want to fulfill this duty, even though it was expected of him, and this was a law during that time. So what he did is he spilled his seed. He did not want to, he slept with Tamar, but he didn't want to fulfill his responsibilities in order to maintain and carry on his brother's name. So God saw that those events were not, that was not right at all. So what he ended up doing, that son too, he ended up passing away. That's the best way I can put it so I can post this video. So we then have a third son. This son is too young. And this son, what is his name? Let's see here. Shalem. I might be saying that wrong. I apologize, guys. I'm trying to make certain that I have this young man's name right. Shelah. And that's Shelah. Okay, he was too young. So Judah said, "Oh, wait here with us. Maintain your mourning, be a widow, and once my son reaches an age, we'll have you marry him so that, you know, we can maintain the lineage within your husband who passed away." Well, she felt like the same events might happen to this third brother, and he might pass away too. So she didn't want to take that risk, and she returned back to her father's house. Now, Judah, he was already married, but his wife ended up passing away. Tamar learned of this. She learned of this and she set a plan and hatched a plan. What ended up happening is Judah went to Timnah to shear some sheep. So what she did, she put on the clothes of a Canaanite prostitute and she sat herself out and paraded herself, and she was covered so that no one knew who she was. Judah approached her like, "Hey, I would like to lay with you and sleep with you." And she said, "Well, what are you going to give me if you sleep with me?" He said, "I'll give you a goat." And of course, he's in a land that he's not, his belongings and his resources and his money, it's not like he has a debit card on hand or anything. He can pay her right then and there. So she's like, "Well, what are you going to give me to secure me knowing that you're actually going to pay me for my services?" And he said, I'll give you a signet and this pledge. Now, signets and pledges were, his staff was very significant because that illustrates who you were. That's your signature. So he's like, "I promise you, I'm going to come back. I'm going to pay you." So he slept with her. She ended up getting pregnant. And she ends up putting back her widow's clothes and goes back to her father's house. But she acts as if that event didn't happen. Well, of course, Judah wanted to make good on his payment. So he went and he sent someone to say, "Hey, you know, I have this goat for this young lady. There was a prostitute in this area. Can you make certain that she gets it?" And everyone's like, "Well, no, we don't know who you're talking about." Well, come to find out, 3 months later, Tamar is pregnant. And of course, that is total disruption to the entire community. So they're like, "Hold on, bring her out. Who did you sleep with?" What she ends up doing, she pulls forth his signet. She brings the evidence and proof like, "You're actually the father." And so she secured protection by doing what exactly? She did the exact opposite of what Ruth did. She got the protection that she wanted. However, she went about it and shows her true character as a person. Yeah, there are different circumstances, but Ruth, she ended up putting in that work. She maintained and built her character in a foreign land. She made certain that people understood that she had renounced her own moral practices, and they dealt with polygamy and things of that nature. But stay tuned to the next video. I'm getting cut short on my time. See y'all later.